Yes, we have you.
There we go. Okay, cool.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
I know it's a busy week, so we appreciate your time last week and this week. So we are going to start with questions for Jimmie. Like I said, if you have one, please raise your hand within the Zoom platform or send us a chat. We are going to get to as many questions as and to kick us off, we're going to go to Dustin Long. Dustin, go ahead.
Thank you. Jimmie, Chad talked the other day that he said you texted him Monday morning and that you guys also later talked on the phone this week about, I guess, racing each other and maybe kind of the weirdness of it. Can you talk a little bit about what you talked about, and also why is it weird? Because you guys have been racing against each other the last couple of years. So what's in your mind, why was it so that you sent that text about how weird it was and kind of the feelings of essentially going up against Chad for a playoff spot?
Yeah, I mean, Chad and I are great friends and have stayed really close through all that's happened. Sure, it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun at some different points here recently, but I wish him the best. We talk often. I want the best for Chad and his family and for Chad and his race team. And to go into Dover, we could all sense and see kind of the picture and the way it was unfolding. I knew they had a tough Saturday and the toll that took on William and Chad both. Then they rebound Sunday, and I could just feel, I've been there. I've had him coaching me along, and I just know where his head is, and I know how difficult and weird it is to look at the 48 car as the guy they got to beat, and then the way you go about motivating yourself to beat your competition. And I'm sitting on my side, going through the same thing, and it's William and Chad, and specifically Chad. So I just, through our friendship and our relationship, just reached out to him, and we had a good laugh about it. We certainly both look at the year and know there are moments that could have kept us both from being in this position, but it is what it is, and we're going to Daytona, which makes it even more, awkward. And we'll see how things play out.
Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Bob Pockers. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmie, earlier this year, you kind of led the driver effort in response to social justice. I'm curious if there's been any discussions this week about anything drivers will do on Saturday in response to Kenosha.
Yeah, there's been some early talks. I'm not sure where it will end up just yet, but I know the drivers have had some conversations, and I know that the NASCAR as well is in that conversation. So these things seem to develop a little later based on past experience. But I know many are, including myself, are extremely disturbed from what we saw in Kenosha, and we'll see how things develop for tomorrow's event.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to continue with questions. I'll take our next one from Mike Solarte. Mike, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Jimmie. Your career obviously is defined already. I mean, 7 championships, first ballot Hall of Famer, all of those things. But what would it mean to you to get the game-winning base hit in the bottom of the 9th to get yourself into the playoffs this time around, considering all the adversity, the loss of points in Charlotte, missing the Indianapolis race? I mean, what would it mean to you personally to get over the hump and get in? And would it be even sweeter as a follow-up to get in with your Hendrick Motorsports teammate on Saturday night?
Yeah, of course we want all 4 cars in the playoffs and to go rounds in the playoffs. So that would be a sweet thing. For me, I feel like I'm racing more for my team, and then on top of that, an extension of that would be for the fans. I know where I am in my heart, and I know that I am still very, very competitive and can get the job done and win races and be a threat for the championship. There are just more variables to the reality of that than I think I even realized. And I had it so good with all of those variables in place, and was able to win 5 championships in a row and to win all those races and 7 championships in total. But I'm a better driver today than I was then, and I firmly believe that. So, watching my team develop and grow and end up where we are today, led by Cliff Daniels. You know, it's been a tough 3 years. There's no way around it, but we are coming, and this team is on track. And I do feel that we can get that base hit, and I do feel that we can go rounds, and I do feel that we can get hot and be a championship threat. And yes, that will mean a lot to me. But for my team, like they're kind of my motivation right now. I'm watching these guys give me everything that they have week in and week out. And they really are my motivation right now, to go in addition to, you know, my competitive nature and what I want to accomplish. So we'll see how it plays out. You know, it could be a storybook ending for us, which would be amazing. And I know the fans would really appreciate that and enjoy it. But all I can do is give 100%. That's something that I've learned over these last 3 years, that our performance on Sunday is more than just my will and my desire and how good I want to do. And it's really more of a team sport than I've ever imagined.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Dustin Albana. Dustin, go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmy, thanks for your time this morning. With what's on the line tomorrow, I'm curious, what have you done this week to kind of keep your mind away from racing?
I've been training pretty hard. That's always been a great escape for me. With restricted plate racing, you know, there's only so much you can do to prepare and get ready for it. And the rules are locked in. We don't have practice. We don't have qualifying. So to kind of burn off nervous energy for me has always been training. So I've been on the mountain bike quite a bit this week.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Terry with WNDB. Terry, go ahead.
Hey, Jimmy, it's Daytona, and this could be your last race at Daytona. What's your perspective on that? Thinking about, you know, your last race at Daytona International Speedway on the Super Speedway.
I just honestly lay it all on the line. We have a lot at stake, and again, it could be a great storybook ending for my last full-time race or race on the oval at Daytona. So we all understand the storylines. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'm not one to spend too much time getting overly sentimental. I'm more excited about the opportunity to go racing and drive that 48 car. So I'm just excited to get there and get to work.
Well, good luck this weekend.
We're going to continue with questions. We'll take our next question with Alex from the Charlotte Observer. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for your time. Yeah, this was kind of along the lines of that same question, but you know, after Dover, I guess you sort of mentioned just looking ahead to the next race and not really being too reflective yet. So I'm wondering, like, over the course of the week, have you taken any more moments to reflect, or have you sort of changed kind of how you're thinking about going into this weekend, and it could potentially be your last sort of like pre-playoff race, I guess? You know, what's sort of your mindset right now?
My mindset's really just been competition focused, trying to win races, trying to gather points. And, you know, it's so stressful that I believe it's helped me not focus too much on the sentimental stuff and the emotions that come with that. And I think I'm just wired that way. And I believe a lot of competitors are, that, you know, you don't want to stop and really reflect. I know at some point I won't have a choice, and it'll be in the forefront of my mind, but the longer I can defer that, I think the more it allows me to focus on my job and to do my job. So we'll see how things go after the playoffs. Hopefully we make the playoffs and I can stay focused, you know, in the right areas on competition and required to and have to. If we don't make the playoffs, maybe that shifts things a little bit. But again, you know, I want to win a race so bad that that's way more important to me than any type of reflection. You know, I view it as I have years to reflect back. I don't plan on being away from our sport. You know, I might not be there week in and week out, but this is a sport that's given me so much that I plan to be around. And I feel like there'll be plenty of moments in the future to reflect. And this year's much more about performance.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Jeff with Empire Sports. Go ahead.
Hi, Jimmy. Thank you for joining us today. You're going up against a Hendrick Motorsports teammate in William Byron, and a guy who has come up through the organization, someone whose rise you've watched over the past 3 years. What can you say about a driver like William, and where has he improved since entering the Cup Series a couple years back?
Yeah, he's a true student of the sport, and his life is dedicated to car racing. And, you know, with his interest in sim racing, you know, he can literally day in and day out, learn tracks, drive cars, think about racing, think about setups, interact with his team on that level. During my generation, we could go test quite a bit, and we did a lot of that. But still, I think he can get more reps in today's world than the world that I grew up in. And it's been really interesting to watch him grow in his path. I think he probably has the fastest path to a NASCAR Cup car in the history of our sport. So, hats off to him. He's doing a great job, and I know he's going to be a tough competitor at Daytona.
Awesome. Thank you, Jimmie. Good luck this weekend.
You got it.
And we're going to take our next question from Michael Shelton. Michael, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, Jimmie, I know you said at the beginning of the year this was going to be your final season, but I'm sure you didn't anticipate the COVID-19 pandemic and then contracting the disease yourself and then not having any fans in the stands, which prevents you from getting the proper send-off, say, that Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon got. I was just wondering if at any time did you start having second thoughts about this being your final full-time season, and at this moment, are you still content with your decision?
Yeah, I made that decision, and it takes a lot to make that decision. So for me, since I've made it, it's in motion. It's happened. It's where my heart is. This is my final year in the car, full time in NASCAR. That doesn't mean that I won't come back and run some NASCAR races, and I'm certainly working hard to stay racing next year. So the fans will still have their opportunity, I believe, to see me in race cars at a high level, and we can have some great experiences there. But the farewell tour that that I had hoped to have, and the interaction with fans and that sentimental experience, the pandemic got it. It's an unfortunate truth, but it is what it is.
Thank you very much. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Mark Long with the AP. Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Jimmie, you mentioned earlier that it awkward being the race being at Daytona against Chad and why awkward?
Well, the awkward piece of racing my teammate, and then to be at a track where there's so many variables and so many ways to lose points that it's just an awkward weekend. I mean, normally, my history of racing, especially trying to make the playoffs, you're used to a certain series of races that lead up to it, and then a cutoff race and what happens there. And this is just all new, and it's different. I think from a fan's perspective, it's going to be very entertaining, and the fans are going to tune in. For us guys in the pressure cooker, it's more intense than any situation I've been in the past.
Okay, next question. We're going to go to Jordan Bianchi with The Athletic. Jordan, go ahead.
Thanks for your time, Jimmie. Jimmie, I'm wondering if you've been involved in any discussions at all on who might replace you next year as driver of the 48 car, if they've bounced different drivers off of you and gotten your feedback on this process.
Yeah, I've been involved a little bit. It's a big decision for the company and for our sponsor Ally. So the weight really lies, in their hands and the direction they want to take things. So I've had a little interaction, but nothing too in depth. But I fully believe in Hendrick Motorsports and the decision they make, who they decide to put in the car, and of course, Ally goes along with that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question, we're going to take a follow-up from Bob Pockers. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmie, Matt DiBenedetto talked about his wife pretty much crying and trying to, amid all the pressure. And I see William Byron with scented candles on his Instagram. I'm curious, what's life like for Jimmie Johnson this week?
Well, life's kind of interesting for me, and certainly different than those two. We have chosen to do homeschooling for our kids until the season's over. Obviously, with the pandemic and missing a race already, and then our children's safety, we've decided to do distant learning. So I was up at 5:45 this morning, so my daughter Lydia could do a Zoom interview or Zoom conference with one of her teachers at 6:30 Mountain Time, because we're in Colorado. It'd be great if we were still in Charlotte right now on the East Coast. The time would have been much better, but our focus has been on homeschooling, and all week long connecting our kids to their classes have meant very early mornings. So very different lifestyles for all three of us, and then just due to where we are in age and what we have going on. But the stress of the job, I've been through this in so many different ways. I feel that's one of the advantages that experience brings. I'm sure I'll feel it, but I think it will really just show up on race day in the car in the moment. and the days leading into it are a little more relaxed for me.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take one final question from Dustin Long. Dustin, go ahead.
Thank you. Jimmie, certainly this year we've seen the role of athletes speaking out in against social injustices in ways that have not seen before, and certainly seen in this sport. And I'm curious your perspective on that and how it has changed even from an athlete's point of view with the platform you've had for all these years. And just maybe it's whether it's the comfort factor or being able to speak up at this point as opposed to years past. And certainly, obviously, you've seen it more in other sports and athletes as well, but just the changing times and what this next generation of athletes and drivers in the sport, how this might change how they look at things moving forward.
Yeah, these are changing times, and I know many don't want to see the opinions of the athletes, and they want the sport to be the sport and the athletes just to be quiet. But I think there's been so much going on over a long period of time, and in various topics as well, that we have an opinion, athletes have an opinion, and we have a right to share our opinion. And I think with age, I've become more comfortable to share my opinion. And then as I learn more about various issues, my own emotions come into play, and I'm led to have different conversations or use my platforms in a different way to focus our foundation and some of the work it does in a different direction. So, we all have our own journey with it all, and I think we definitely all have that right and should not be judged to have that right. And they're just changing times and a big election year and a lot of different opinions. And in my opinion, a country more divided than I've ever seen or experienced in my lifetime. So it's an important time in everyone's life right now. And I feel like the younger generation is watching and learning. And I'm very encouraged by watching my kids in the way our school is teaching them to learn, to have an opinion, to really educate themselves on various topics. And at times I'm discouraged by where we sit as a nation and as a world, and just how divided we all are. But then when I see my kids and their questions and their genuine concern about the future of our country, of our environment, of racial inequality issues, gender-related issues, I do become encouraged. And to hear a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old weigh in on some conversations really has blown my mind. So I do have some optimism for the future. Clearly, it's a critical point in time right now for us all, and it's a big topic in a journey that's not going to resolve anytime soon for generations to come.
Thank you,
Jimmie. We appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend in Daytona.
Awesome, looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody.
All right, and to the media who have joined us, just a friendly reminder, we will have Denny Hamlin at 11:10, and which after Denny will be followed by Tyler Reddick. So we have a little bit of a break. We'll keep the room open. Feel free to stay in, go on mute, or just hop out and hop back in at that time. We'll see you soon.